radio tonight.
So speaker-wise, that had to be Hank Jr., right? I mean, it sounded like it was a pretty good reproduction of his voice if that was a mimic, but that had to be...
Rockin' Randall, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Thank you, Rockin' Randall.
Thank
you, the viewer, for tuning in to another episode of Live from Stadium Drive. I am Matty Day.
I am Tommy Burns.
And we are coming off one of the coolest Packers victories. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Lived up to all the build-up that it could have been. I mean, it wasn't no hype for any reason.
Yeah.
Sunday night in Lambeau, both of us got a chance to go to the game, and man, what a game! I got to use Maddie's line twice to some Seattle
Wasn't my
fans,
line, but I can't take credit.
to some select groups, two groups of Seattle fans. If you watched last week, you know the question, and it just worked perfectly because they're just no fun. Seattle fans aren't any fun.
They aren't.
You
They're
want
not
like
fun.
a little banter. Vikings fan, Bears fan, that's fun.
Oh.
Philly fan,
Oh, yeah.
you're something. A lot of other fans, fun. Seattle fan, you're no fun.
You don't get it.
No.
You don't fucking get it, Seattle fans.
Loosen up. I
No,
mean, I don't know.
You know what they get is they get jerseys with the number 12 that say fan on the back.
Yep. And the
Fan.
12th man was on the field twice that game.
Was there nothing easier than that? Just,
Yeah.
oh, that was wonderful. Hey, other stadiums, whenever you have Seattle there, enjoy any 12 men on the field calls that
Yep.
you get. It's pretty
Big support
pretty
for the 12th
built
man.
in.
Solidarity.
Although I feel like
The
after
13th
these
man will pick you
couple
back
of,
up.
these couple of road losses, I can't even see that fan base traveling all that well.
Yeah, if one thing, they're fickle.
yeah.
We've seen that over the course of the years. So, hey,
Yeah, a coworker who proudly had a Seahawks flag displayed by her office for the last 2 years. That flag is no longer there. One fucking loss. You fucking
wow.
silly.
Wow.
Silly. They don't know shit. There's no resiliency, and I would say it was so good. I heard about a local dude, not a local dude, a Seahawks fan came and was wearing his grandfather's Seahawks hat. Did you hear about this?
No.
It's on Craigslist. There's a $100 reward. It's some FIB, according to the Craigslist post, took off this dude's Seahawks hat and threw it, and it was it looks right in the light. It's an old school Seahawks hat, and the guy in the picture that he's wearing it is wearing an older, solid blue Seahawks jersey. So right then and there, he's an all right type of Seahawks fan. So that's going a little too far. People, you don't need to do that.
No.
That's not how we fan.
But he was south of the border representative.
It was, yeah. So it wasn't even Wisco folk. Otherwise, man, it was just good. It was good. I did see one Seahawks fan wearing an older jersey. It was at a high point in the game. I didn't buy him a beer. I shook his hand and said that's cool that he was wearing an older one. But it was one single fan that I saw that didn't have the fucking Nike green ooze jerseys.
The neon thing. But another cool thing about being in that game, that halftime show with bringing out, just generations of decades of the high, the good years and the not so good years, but just representative from everywhere. If you haven't seen it or anything, we might try to post it. Got some video, but that was something special. Seeing some of those faces and names, that was just a great game.
So cool. Just some of the names that you hear: Chester Markle, Boyd Dowler. It was cool.
And the sorry, who?
Johnny Gray. Dude. That's more of he's probably had every single
no name,
game,
but Forrest Gregg, who's kind of, he's got some health issues. He was there. A bunch of the, 31 Super Bowl 31 guys were there. Actually, none of these guys were there.
No.
But Chimura does his Milwaukee show.
He has a show?
He had, or at least has, a Milwaukee show. Yeah, he does. He's one half of
Goofy.
Milwaukee radio, ESPN Milwaukee, I think.
Chris Jackie was there.
Chris Jackie was there.
Antonio Freeman was there.
Antonio
It was
Freeman.
exciting. It was good. I mean, and like David Robinson was there.
Yeah.
Good.
Kramer, of
crew.
course. Kramer always shows up and everything, but that was pretty awesome.
The big one all year, man. The one we'll just kind of keep following is whether or not Bart's gonna make it on Thanksgiving. That's something.
Yes. I mean, because you're basically gonna have, 4 future Packer Hall of Fame quarterbacks there. It's gonna be awesome. Aaron
4?
Rodgers, Brett Favre, Bart Starr, and Jay Cutler. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be it's really gonna be awesome. And one more thing, just back on the fan experience of the game, a different rendition of the national anthem that I've ever heard, but that guy really had a set of pipes. Were you in the stadium for that at that point?
I was booking it.
Yeah.
My band had played at Badger State Brewery, and I was like just running to get in. I heard it in the tunnel.
It was
in
he had
the
a fellow
atrium
with
of
him
it.
doing like an acoustic guitar, and he was a bigger guy. I'm serious, but he looked and it sounded kind of Hawaiian, kind of that acoustic island kind of riff. But that guy had a set of pipes on him. I mean, that
Where?
guy he just hit some notes and belted.
I thought, wasn't it a former Packer? Al Jazeera, former Packer.
Yes.
Like I said, I was running for it. Was there a flyover?
I may have missed an anthem because I got in pretty close to the anthem, so I may have missed the formal introduction.
Got it.
It was pretty great.
Well, super
Did they have a
lucky.
flyover? I don't know.
I didn't hear it. I didn't know if I was
I
just
didn't
like
hear
if
or
I'm
feel
just
it.
if I'm so numb to the experience. That would be fucked up if I didn't notice a flyover though.
Right? Yeah.
Like what the fuck?
Yeah,
Anyway.
there's usually a 5 senses kind of thing about that you see, hear, feel, taste, and
Yeah.
Diesel.
Just makes
jet
you feel
fuel.
safe. Just makes you feel safe. Just
Oh gosh,
just-
gee, yeah, hey.
oh,
I
just
mean,
puts a chill to your bones.
Yeah.
Makes them feel safe.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the game experience.
Then
is
there was
like
a game.
none.
There was actually a game.
There was a game after all this. In between all that, and man, what were the keys to beating the Seattle Seahawks? It started with Marshawn Lynch. That was how they were going to control the game, control the clock, keep our 12 off the field. They don't have a 12 because they retired the number. Seattle, that is. Retired number 12 for their fans. Which reminds me, one fine thing. So I'm walking out of the game, and I see, like, I've been sitting behind one of the 12 fan jerseys, and yo, hey, what's going on?
What's that? Nice fella. Little chunk activity.
I thought we had a get for a second there. Like, if it's BJ Raji and it's just like, oh, guys, my car broke down. Someday.
It will.
Someday.
The odds can be there.
And we could put sugar in gas tanks and make the odds even better. So I'm walking
Like
out
maybe
of...
Capers rolls around this RV. Who really knows? I mean, he could. He could be just RV guy.
That's a wonderful image.
Yeah. Just going game to game. No, guys, sorry, I don't go on planes. I'm just going to drive the Winterbagger.
Oh, my God.
But
Oh, so... Post game, walking out after this one... Seahawks fans were scarce after that game ended. They were nowhere to
they
be
usually
seen.
go for low, cool, dry areas with no sunlight to stay out of harm's way. Yes?
I'm walking back to my car, and there's a dude in a 12 fan jersey, and I couldn't handle it. I'm just like, I just started laying into the guy for how stupid this jersey. I'm like, but kind of oblivious. I'm like, you have a jersey that just says fan on it, fan, and he's just like, dude, so like, have you never heard of the 12th man? I'm like, no, what the fuck's that? Your jersey says fan on it, and And it was fun. Use
It
that
is.
one too. God, I wish they played here more often.
I know.
Come on back
I
now.
know. You're welcome anytime.
Truly.
Because you're terrible sports.
Oh God, it's
And your
fucking
coaches
good.
too.
So
We digress.
We digress, and we might some more. But Marshawn Lynch was where the game plan started from for the Packers defense.
But it didn't
and
end that way.
No, man, he didn't do much, man. What was it? 2.7 yards per carry.
Yep. Right around the 40s for 47
Oof.
for the yardage.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's so good. I mean, for this defense that doesn't have the Troy guy on, but does have B.J. Raji.
Yes. High
Mike
praise
Daniels.
from Mike McCarthy. Mike Daniels. Yep.
I mean, that was a pretty effective tandem, getting all kinds of in that backfield.
Yep. You could credit to some woes of the Seattle offensive line, which, there is some growing pains. You may not see a performance. It may have been,
Right.
Which was it? But our ability to plug up the holes, we can get into who ended up having more yards than Lynch was Big Russ, Danger Russ. He got us for about 30 more yards than Lynch. But going back to the success of, we always said you can limit Lynch, but you can't stop him. We
Kind of stopped him. I think you'd be pretty happy with that performance against any running back, man, let alone Marshawn.
And biggest to the run is inside linebacker, and you had a guy in there taking all the snaps at inside linebacker, who sometimes says was still an outside linebacker, but the number sheet didn't show it. Clay played the entire game inside, did not take a
smoke
snap.
screen. It's a smoke screen.
It is. Yeah.
All the entire game at inside linebacker. That's pretty wild.
It was something, and there were some results there.
I heard there was even a Nick Perry sighting at outside linebacker.
Really?
Dude.
Is he okay, or is he?
He apparently made a play. I mean, for a while there, I was starting to think like, man, if I ever get mixed up with the wrong people and need to go into hiding, you just put me in a number 53 jersey and trot me out on that defense, man. Because
I don't see it.
fuck, man, all like preseason first game, like it's just like game will be over and I'll go, that was nice. Hey, what was Nick Perry active? I mean, man, I guess he was active and made a play this game. So, I mean, you got Daytone back in there too. I mean, you got a couple of these dudes who maybe this was just a very motivated game. It was loud as fuck, so that helped them.
Yeah, you see it. I mean, in so many ways. I mean, the benefit of us, Rodgers being able to do his cadence plays with it being completely silenced, and then us just disrupting. And you saw the early timeout when they called that first timeout in the beginning of the first quarter, which that was a really long first quarter. I like to see the total amount on that first corner.
That was real time. That was a long one.
But I mean, you just saw it. It was constantly effective. It constantly showed itself, seeing the disruption and everything, and the timeouts that were made.
Yeah. On the back end, you had a couple. Not that there were like a ton of. I mean, you got Doug Baldwin, who they connected on a pretty big third down play. But the big weapon that everyone was afraid of was Jimmy Graham. He had 2 catches, or was it just 2 targets?
Maybe.
And fucking early on, I realized they had Sean Richardson was who the Packers had on Jimmy Graham. I was terrified once I realized that. I thought we were in for a long night, and man, it was like he was just being used as like more of a decoy than anything.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about this Jimmy Graham situation, what's going on in Seattle, because they are a run first.
Yeah.
Run almost all the time team, and you'd like to have some blocking tight ends, which Jimmy Graham is not. And just the passing game that it is. I mean, you have a guy who's Jimmy Graham. He has a skill set to be like a premier tight end, one of those tight ends that is seen as a receiver.
Sorry, dude, Chili John's.
That's no problem. So if he's not getting targets, and because even if he gets a few tosses a game, he's going to feel like I'm underutilized. I could be on a team where I am getting a ton more targets, becoming one of the top 3 tight ends in the league, and I have so much more to give this, and I don't want to fucking block. And he's never going to get that. He may get some honest targets and some clutch first downs and some touchdowns there in Seattle, but he's not going to get the type of top-tier production from Breeze throwing to him, or a Rodgers throwing to him, or a Peyton throwing to him when it's like a primarily passing game and you're going to be a standout. He is never going to get that in Seattle. So this saltiness, unless Mama Lynch gets her wish and Darrell Bevell is gone in Seattle, or they just entirely change their philosophy with Darrell Bevell, Jimmy Graham will never see the full potential as Jimmy Graham in Seattle, period.
It's weird, man. I mean, there are only so many footballs to go around, and even last year, seeing the Packers offense trying to fit in all their different weapons together and distribute the rock, it wasn't always
There's
clean.
only so much pie to go around.
Yeah. It seemed like the worst thing in the world for the rest of the NFC when they got Jimmy Graham, and man, maybe it's not what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So, anything a little bit more about defense, or move to the third unit? I mean, one more thing I just want to say running back to D is, I'm going to be real on both sides. If you look at his grades from the Bear game, it just wasn't very positive for Josh Boyd, but injuries are a son of a bitch, and it's good to have those big bodies and get well soon. You can say we all saw it happen. It looked pretty bad. I mean, when guys are saying come in right away and guys are kneeling all around him right away, it's not your average, oh, I'm just a little shook up, or I just got to, take a couple plays off my ankle. It looked pretty bad. So just best wishes to Josh Boyd, person to person.
He's on the boomerang, man. Let's hope he comes back.
Yeah.
Remember when they did that with was it Cedric Benson, and then he didn't end up coming back? Remember Cedric Benson? Green Bay Packer.
And that was the 11 or no 13.
Goofy.
Because it was the collarbone year, right?
I don't remember. That was a fucked up year.
That had to have been because it was last year, but it was 13. That was the collarbone year. That had to have been the Cedric Benson year, I think.
12 or 13. Yeah, I don't remember. Man, but you got any other points on the D?
I think we can move to the special teams.
We got to talk special teams. We have a new record holder, Mason Bing Crosby, taking out Ryan Longwell. Ryan Applebee's Longwell. Fuck you, Ryan Longwell. And how cool, man. I mean, Mace is not going anywhere. He has been kicking very, very well, and I mean, we're going to see that number just continue to tick on up for our man Bing.
He's got a lot of latitude. It was impressive. I mean, just cool and calm. There was still, he was just the 54-yarder.
Was so clutch.
It just had some length, and the kickouts are there. You're seeing a lot of touchbacks. I'm fine with a touchback every time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can give a touchback anytime and completely eliminate any possibility for shit happening and make them drive 80 yards.
Yeah.
That's just fine.
But even when he had a few of them that he kicked just kind of deep, and the Seahawks, there was a lot of talk coming in about this rookie they got, third-round draft pick for kick returns. Sounds a little familiar. We've largely neutralized Lockett. Loquacious. That was scary, man. And you didn't want this game to be decided by special teams, and thank God it didn't come down to like an onside kick at any point. Like, almost seemed like it very well could. But credit to Ron Zook. Like, thank you, man. Thanks for doing your job. Thanks for getting these dudes ready who you just met the last month or whatever. Otherwise, Tim Mastay also doing
putting aside some worries that we saw, putting together some solid punts. Again, you just look for special teams to not put yourself in a hole as far as foot to the ball goes. And we're doing good in that regard. And that's usually no idiot mistakes that aren't honest mistakes or an effort play from the other team. It's huge, especially with 12. Tilting the field is huge.
Which brings us to the offense. Oh, man. Wow. I mean, this was bound to be a close game going into it. Losing Bulaga, that was freaky. I mean, we had seen Don Barclay struggle all up to this point, man. And to know that he was coming in, I don't know. I know McCarthy didn't declare it, but it was like, really, you're gonna put someone else in. You're gonna put Josh Walker in there. Like, yeah, right.
It had to be.
Yeah.
And against a very formidable front of Seattle.
You know, one of the other options, and this I kind of did lend a little credence to. Leroy Butler suggested maybe that they would put Barclay at guard and kick Lang out to tackle. But I'm glad they didn't do it. I'm sure that they gave Barclay a good amount of help. But
Because God love Lang, I think a lot of them, and especially it's interesting hearing Lang's road because he had a talking to from Sitton about getting your shit together, about really stepping it up early in his career. But then you're putting two guys who are unfamiliar in the position. You're putting
right,
just,
right.
But I see what you're saying because you feel like, oh, tackle is so important, and you have such a great lineman in Lang. Use that over there, but both of them basically, putting them in a completely new situation. I'm glad they went the way they did.
Well, and if
but
anybody,
keep the ideas coming, Leroy.
Yeah.
Or
keep them X's and O's.
Or Edgar. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Edgar wouldn't. Edgar go, we could do.
Hey man, yeah, Leroy's smooth as butter, man. Leroy's like,
he's a good follow on Twitter, man. He's a good dude. But O-line,
regardless of the financial status of some of his endeavors. Yes.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just saying. Questions. I'm not condemning.
Give me a rug.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything. I'm just, you hear things.
If any O-lineman struggled, especially, it sure as fuck wasn't Corey Linsley. Did you see that replay of that double block? Dope. Dig our center. But it was Bakhtiari.
Yeah.
And let's just keep seeing what happens. Not going to jump ahead here, but he's got a formidable challenge coming up this week. But Barclay largely did well enough, and they did well in pass protection. They did well run blocking for James Starks, who, credit that dude for coming in. I mean,
I'd like to see Bakhtiari put some more weight on his frame. I'm going to go on the record saying that. Okay. Not a ton, just some more muscle mass. Sorry.
That's valid. What's he weigh these days?
Just going off looks. Just going off looks.
How many stone does he weigh? Also doing a great job extending the plays, man. Fucking A-Rod, man. And I just gotta say, watching Aaron Rodgers in person is watching just greatness. I mean, if you...
What we talked about as far as command at the line to diagnose the 12 guys, to his ability to know when to run, his tight window, that first touchdown to James Jones that just flung right by Richard Sherman, right in the fucking breadbasket, or right there. I mean, wow.
Yeah, I mean, the legs, man, and it almost made it. It kind of hurt to watch him with his escapability against the Seattle defense, because that Aaron Rodgers would have won that game in Seattle. I mean, if you without his mobility, he's an outstanding pocket presence, but man, I mean, that's a good D-line, and he's a fucking surgeon if you get him on the move, man. He's so fucking good. Enjoy it, man. I mean, even my old man was just like, we were talking after, and he said, man, this is really getting to the point where this is really special to watch, man. I really enjoying it.
Yes.
Fucking cool. The supporting cast took a hit when Devontae Adams went out of the game for a while.
But a young guy came in, a rookie came in.
My mind is still fucking blown over Ty Montgomery. That third down catch in the fourth quarter, that was fucking huge. That was the game potentially. Man, that was so big for that rookie. But I mean, sometimes it wasn't even the catches.
No,
I mean,
we're talking about a guy that went 4 for 4 for 37 yards. But his
on paper,
game,
it's not.
But his game was
game.
so much more than that. I mean, the things we were able to see this guy do. We saw, I mean, his return average in the return game is more than we have ever could have expected within the last few years. And then some of the things he does on field, I believe it was late third quarter, pass to Randall Cobb down the right sideline. He's going down. You see Montgomery screaming up the sidelines, basically cuts off, picks one guy to extend it, and then gives a solid block on another secondary man to basically extend the play 7 yards. Like, you don't have to do that. Guys cannot run his head like that high effort play. When they talk about him asking questions in spring training and his high intelligence and coming back and asking, what did I do wrong? And then he pulled 2 pass interception plays, including that fourth quarter drive-saving play down to Richard Sherman that gave us a breath of fresh air. Like, remember the aquatic runes level in Sonic when you had to go underwater, but you had to find little bubbles, and then you went and you got that extra bubble of life? That was like what it was when we got that interception, and it was just it's these intangible things that you can't count on. It comes up to the sum of the part. And you mentioned Devontae goes down. You have Roger some backups. He goes in.
Yeah. So, you talk about the effort, the high effort, the praise for Montgomery, and he's asking questions and whatnot. And a minor blip on the offseason radar was there weren't those kinds of shout-outs to Jeff Janis. And you didn't see Jeff Janis in this game where you don't have Jordy Nelson or Davante Adams, and he was active. He was in the game.
Healthy and ready to go, coach.
But it was Montgomery who got the call, answered the call. So, I mean, that kid's
he got
gonna
it
see
and
some
he
more.
answered it.
And, I don't know. It's just wild.
It
all
tells
from
you
the
a lot
clamoring for
about
Jeff
their-
Janis
yeah.
and the potential there. I don't know. It's hard to find things to be disappointed in a game like that. But it would have been cool. I mean, it was such a good game for some of these young offensive players. This could have been one for Jeff Janis too. So I don't know. If he didn't get the opportunity, but why didn't he get the opportunity?
Exactly.
So that's my nitpick. And my teeth click.
That contributed to a lot of after the game in Seattle. Like I said, it's always fun to see what they're thinking of, where they're going next. We kind of talk about be with Jimmy Graham, and Pete Carroll was bitching, and it's so fun to listen to because his little gum chewing shut when he's playing, but then just seeing him piss and moan, talking about 9/11 conspiracies and all that and everything after.
He's the worst.
Uh,
I forgot about that.
It's great, but they have Cam Chancellor back, and that was like another thing. Like,
yeah, the fallout of this game. I mean, apparently 0-2 is enough for them to try to break precedent and show that players can boss around their front office, and it's wild. Welcome back, Cam. It would have been a pleasure to have watched that game with you, yeah. So that's gonna happen, and they're gonna try to work Jimmy Graham in. It's tough to say that the Seattle team is done. Looking at their schedule on paper, you very well could have chalked up. I don't know. I mean, a 1-1 splitting these first 2 road games would probably not have been out of the question. They've never been a great road team. So yeah, I mean,
I expect to see them in the playoffs still.
Yeah. Yeah. Although that is a
against the Rams in the
Carson
division.
Palmer doing some shit.
Yeah. The division.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's such a you'd be hard pressed to find a Packers fan who's like ready to just count Seattle down and out, because it's just we had them down and could not put them out. But we will fucking just this was good. This was a good one for Green Bay.
Oh
man.
gosh, yes. And they have kind of a nice sandwich handed to them this next week. Their home opener against Chicago.
Oh, okay.
So
that's their home opener, huh?
Yeah, we'll see what happens there and everything.
Yeah,
and,
that's probably what they need.
Yeah.
But
and then there was more division action with this past week.
Jay
Detroit.
Cutler is injured, man.
Yes,
Jay
hammy.
Cutler, hammy. Stafford getting hurt against Minnie.
Yeah. Them not signing Ragnar.
They're taking hits out there, people.
Yeah,
And we are alone at the top.
Yeah, it's rough. So, okay, then it's going on to next week. We have Monday Night Football. we have the Kansas City Chiefs. We have a... I'm going to jump in something right now.
Let's get old school. I mean, these are old ass teams, man.
Kansas City Chiefs.
We beat the Chiefs in Super Bowl I.
And it was. And please go back and watch some highlight tapes or understand about those era Chiefs that we had and their head coach, Hank Stram. Hank Stram was quite possibly one of the most entertaining coaches that I've ever seen, above Bill Belichick, for different reasons. Jim Harbaugh for different reasons. I mixed feelings about Belichick, didn't like Harbaugh. I love Hank Stram. Hank Stram wasn't the biggest fella, but Steve Sable put it from NFL Films. He understood early on that football was about the competition, but it was also about entertainment and performance. And he credited Hank Stram along with Vince Lombardi, Sid Gilman, and the Redskins coach at that time about allowing access of NFL Films to film football, to go in the locker rooms, to get these guys down on the field, to mic up a coach, which those Kansas City Chiefs with Hank Stram as head coach lost to us in Super Bowl I, played Minnesota in Super Bowl IV, and whooped their ass hardcore in Super Bowl IV, one of 4 losses for the Minnesota Vikings in the Super Bowl. But the story about how he mic'd up is funny. Ed and Steve Sable go up to him like, hey, we'd love to mic you up, because they know what kind of guy he is. Just like, what did he say? You're gonna have to put a wad in my pocket, or you're gonna have to give me some dead presidents. And they're like, what? And just like, you're gonna have to give me some money. They're like, okay, how about $250? He's like, my dry cleaning suit goes for more than $250. And they're just like, okay, about $500. Okay. And you get this guy mic'd up, and he is just a mile a minute, talking so much nonsense. He refers to himself in the third person, but not as Hank Stram. He refers to himself as the mentor. So you go back and you listen, when he's saying the mentor, he's talking about himself. So it'd be like, oh, the mentor caught a good run pass there, a 38-8 play there. Come on, boys. But he won't say boys. More so in practice, he calls his players rats, which it's like, it's not like the real diminutive. It's kind of just like, you old rugrat, kind of thing. Just like, come on, you're rats. He calls players rats. He called Ed and Steve Sable Big Smush and Little Smush. And he called referees sausage stuffers and push bellies. But one of his trademark words that he came up with, and he comes up with words, that just makes me love him so much, because I love fucking with English language and Americanism and the way we speak and everything. Attaway boys, that's the way to matriculate down the field. Or no, hold on. Matriculate. That is Hank Stram, matriculating.
We use that at the college every day when it's funny as shit.
He comes in with so much shit, and I can't do him justice. You have to. Like I said, he's mic'd up for Super Bowl IV. You can hear him in Super Bowl I, and you can hear him elsewhere. But listening to the guy talk, he's. Boys, they really didn't know the mentor was gonna get him. We got him right there. All right, what the hell are you looking at, Ref? You didn't even see what was going on there. And he just dresses dapper as hell, and like Hank Stram. If I got to talk about a reason to love the Chiefs, is because of Hank Stram. If you haven't seen him in action, haven't read about him, do yourself a favor and do some YouTubing and some articles about Hank Stram, because he is something else. And he has been great for football.
Well, I mean, the fact that he beat the Vikings, that's in their first ever Super Bowl appearance, that should go a long way for Packers fans. I had the pleasure of living in the area for 2 years, and
that's great.
So that's KC's always kind of been my AFC team if there's never any conflict of interest. But more so, I know a lot of great people down there. And next up to talk about the KC Green Bay game next Monday night is one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Mr. Modi Odell. Take it away, Bones.
You guys, it doesn't get a lot of coverage, but you guys have not thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver in like a season and a couple games. What's kind of going on with that? Is that something you guys are worried about, or it's all kind of fits in within the scheme, or what do you think of that?
Well, I hope it's not a part of the scheme, but I'm kind of glad to hear that that's not necessarily getting a lot of coverage, because we talked about it a lot in Kansas City.
Oh yeah, no, we I'm being a bit facetious, but I mean, you guys, I kind of like what you guys are doing there. Jamal Charles, I don't get to watch him a lot, but seeing him, regardless of what happened in the end of that Broncos game, his running and Kelsey and everything, I guess talk about and Reed being an offensive guy. How do you kind of feel about what they do, what Kansas City does, and Alex Smith and everything?
Well, I think Alex Smith is settling in. I think the city's kind of 50-50 on him. I think we're a little bit more pro Alex Smith. Like, if it's not him, who else is it going to be? But, I mean, he can manage a game pretty good, but no touchdowns to a receiver. That one always pops to my mind first, regardless of his stats or his strengths and weaknesses. Man, our receiving core is a little bit scary. Jeremy Maclin, it's his first year here. He's familiar with Andy Reid, but not a whole lot out of them yet. It's looking a lot like last year so far, and I mean, outside of that, I mean, we kind of have a bunch of no-names at receiver.
Dude, you got Jason Avant. He's a really great man.
He's a great man. That's what I've heard, and there's like local songs about that mention that actually,
yeah.
And that's all about people have to say about Jason Avant, man. We were excited when he came over last year because, again, he came from the Eagles, and like he and Andy Reid know each other well, but we are not producing at the wide receiver position. Where I think that we can kind of make up for that is Jamal Charles. We've got a running game, the short passing game, and our tight ends. Kelsey is, I don't know if he gets a lot of national coverage, but man, if he doesn't, man, he might be one of the most underrated players in the whole NFL.
Well, where I've heard a lot about him is I dabble a little bit in fantasy, and dude's just exploded. And been a solid target, and he's very talented. And then I've also heard this O'Shaughnessy guy mentioned. Do you have any what's kind of something the rest of the league should know about him? Or
O'Shaughnessy?
That's James O'Shaughnessy. I think he's your number 2 tight end. You got him, and then there's another.
Yeah, and I think he looked pretty good in preseason. I mean, the Royals been hot, and so preseason football in Kansas City, it's been kind of weird. Some of the focus has honestly shifted off of the Chiefs a little bit, and that's weird to see because we've been so bad at baseball for so long. And like, growing up here, like it's in Kansas, at least all my life, like it had always just strictly been a football town, a football state, and then, man, we kind of backed our Royals. But, yeah, to get back to the question, though, the O'Shaughnessy guy, the backup tight end, I think he looked pretty good in preseason. Haven't seen anything from him in the regular season, though, here. I can't recall his name.
It's, from the sound of it, there's been, like, a lot of multiple tight end sets going out there. You have another tight end, Demetrius Harris, who's actually he graduated from the same college as me and you, Tommy.
Wow.
6'7", former basketball player from UW-Milwaukee. So
yeah,
sounds like you've been doing a lot of the jumbo package, getting some good blocking out there for Jamal Charles. I mean, the offense really kind of starts with him, right?
Exactly. The tight ends, I know they like to bring in these guys. They're big, athletic guys. They get fast, athletic blockers out there that can, hopefully keep up with Jamal. Obviously, it starts and dies with Jamal Charles, with us and the Chiefs here. Kind of like I think, it all starts and possibly dies with Aaron Rodgers up there.
Dang, yeah.
What? Going with Jamal Charles and Alex Smith, like you talked about, I mean, he's just a pretty solid guy there. One thing you guys have seemed to excel at is controlling the ball, not giving the ball away, and being able to take the ball a little bit. But I know with last week there was Alex, yeah, 5 turnovers. I mean, it was an issue. Is that just kind of, do you think, an anomaly or a blip in the radar? Is that something you're worried about? I even saw something from Andy Reid. I mean, he's usually a hard-driving guy. He wasn't chewing out Jamal Charles too much, but I mean, what's the kind of feeling on that? Is that kind of out of character for you guys? Do you feel that it's not an over concern, or what's?
Yeah, definitely out of character. I think, like, I didn't go back and look at, our turnover ratio or whatever from, like, last year or anything, but, like, Alex Smith, maybe to throw one fluky interception in a game, that's something we would take note of and talk about, because he does a really good job of just managing the game, not putting ourselves in bad or negative positions. Same thing with Jamal Charles, too, man. That, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about the game last week. That was that's crushing of a defeat.
Oh man, yeah, I was watching that. I mean, the sad thing that gets missed in that is that Jamal Charles had 125 yards rushing, like against a pretty good front 4, front 7, and all anyone's gonna remember from that game is the fumble. Yep. And he's looked pretty good this year. I think they're all starting to settle in a little bit. Well, you guys did a pretty good job against Marshawn Lynch, though. And I keep thinking about that matchup between your defense and being able to stop the run. And so I think that's our key to victory. We got to be able to run. I think Alex Smith is going to have to be able to run and, like, actual produce rushing yards, and I hope that can be a factor.
And do you guys have a banged up right tackle? Who is it? A pretty standout guy. Do you have an injury up front that he might be in this week, might be out? Did I see something on that?
Yeah, they're saying that he might be in, and that's Eric Fisher, our first overall pick.
Yeah.
He was Dorsey's first pick as a Chief.
No,
and was the first overall. That's when we had the first overall draft pick, and there was no quarterbacks up there at the top. And we took Eric Fisher, and he's been in and out, man. And people, like in Kansas City, the buzz around town kind of questioning his toughness and stuff. And, like, he elected, well, it sounds like that he voluntarily sat out game week 1 against the Texans here, and then he did not get the start against the Broncos. His backup did really good against the Texans, which the Texans have a pretty good, defense if you just look on paper and go off the names.
Yeah.
And he did great. He didn't look so hot against the Broncos. That's going to be interesting to see. That's been one of our biggest talks throughout the preseason is our offensive line and jumbling these guys around, and it seems like we don't have our best guys starting, and that's a big question mark.
It's a very long, because, like you said, with a run first team, and I support spending a first round pick on a offensive lineman, because that's where both the pass and the run starts as far as protection and creating lane. But I mean, that's a very interesting story, and I was totally unaware of that. That's how's the rest of the line shaping up, or I mean, historically, or just kind of outlook. I mean, you overall is a feeling in the city pretty good about the guys that are in there.
Not really on the O-line. It's just a big question mark, guys. Like, we've been shuffling guys around all preseason, and I don't think that our O-line, we don't know who's going to start between Eric Fisher, who has the most buzz going around him because he was first overall pick in the draft, and he's just not producing. They shuffled him around. He had dealt with some injuries last year, but we just haven't even had him consistently on the field. And we have another, I think, rookie. We call him Larry the Canadian Doctor because it's too hard to say his full name, his full real name. But he's gotten a start here, and he's been playing for Jeff Allen, who's been dealing with some injuries. But we might have Allen and Fisher back for this game. But
Okay.
That it kind of worries me. Offensive line worries me a little bit.
Overall, do you like the job that offensive coordinator slash former Brett Favre backup Doug Peterson is doing for you guys?
Oh man, I didn't realize the Peterson connection to Green Bay. I had noticed a few others browsing around online, but so there's more than I thought there.
Yeah. I mean, do you like what he's doing for you guys? I think it's his first job as an O coordinator. I mean, it's got to be.
Okay, and I think if anything, he gets overshadowed by Andy Reid quite a bit.
Well,
I do believe that Peterson calls the plays in game because when Reid and Peterson were first here, I think Reid, him being such the big offensive guy, I think he was calling the plays during the game. And so I think Peterson's kind of been, at least in my eyes and with me, kind of overlooked or overshadowed by, Andy Reid supposedly being this big offensive guy. And I just kind of get the vibe that it's Reid calling the shots. But
I think I did read that Reid is still calling the plays. The reason it stands out is because kind of like our coach Mike McCarthy, he's a West Coast dude, and they were really kind of the head coach calling their own plays was really kind of a dying breed. And this season, Mike McCarthy bowed out, and he has ceded that responsibility to our O coordinator. Sounds like Andy. Yeah, I mean, so you guys got a lot of Green Bay roots there on offense, anyway. So we kind of keep an eye on that. It's interesting for us. Another guy we're kind of former Packer on your team. We got to ask about Frank Zombo. How do you feel about him down in Kansas City?
Zombo, I've loved him since he's been in Kansas City. He and Holly, like on their depth chart, he's listed as like number 2 behind Tamba Hali, and I think this year they both have kind of taken a step back. I haven't seen Zombo around in the regular season on the field a whole lot. I know that he's been in there a bit. We try to keep our D-line as fresh as possible from, what it seems like, and we do have some guys we can shift in and out of there. But no, Zombo's at the very least been a solid backup since he's been here. What is this going on year 3 maybe?
Yes, I think so. I think it's 6 years in the league and 3 with us and now 3 with you. And that's kind of what we saw with them ourselves, kind of a solid number 2, a good special teams contributor, a good guy to fill in, but not necessarily that high impact player that you see play in and play out.
Yep. Yeah, that kind of see the same thing here with Zombo.
And before we get into this upcoming game, let's talk a little bit more just about the history between Green Bay and Kansas City. We're not going to go back super far because we all know what happened in the first Super Bowl, and then you guys gratefully beat the Vikings in Super Bowl 4. We're just going to go back because actually the Chiefs have never lost in Green Bay. Have you guys been talking about that?
Never? We've never lost at Lambeau Field?
Dig this. There have only been 3 Packers-Chiefs games in Green Bay. And you guys won all 3 of them. Do you remember the last one?
Not necessarily at Lambeau.
You don't remember the last one that was at Lambeau? You fucking dick. Are you serious? Dude.
No, not at Lambeau off the top of my head.
Oh, you fuck. 2003. My first year living down in Kansas, and I'm watching. We're in the dorms, and I'm at one end of the hallway, and Al and Kruger and all those other dudes were down at the other end of the hallway. I remember my dad even called me from that game and said, "Hey, looks like the Packers are gonna do it." And it was like in the third quarter, and man, Amon Green fumbled bad. Trent Green just like diced up our really bad safety named Bao Ju, and you guys.
Oh man.
One. That was the year you guys started out like 11-0 or something like that. It was nuts.
Yeah.
But that
man.
was hard. That was hard. That was the last time the Chiefs, other than a bunch of preseason games, have been up to Lambeau Field. So me personally, I'm looking forward to that one. Modi, do you remember another game that happened between the Chiefs and the Packers back in 2011?
I think that's the game at Arrowhead that's been more on my mind.
Yeah. Romeo Cornell and Kyle Orton, fucking neckbeard himself. You asshole.
Boy.
Did you know that the Packers were favored by 11 points in that game?
At Arrowhead.
The 13-0 Packers coming into the 5-8 Kansas City Chiefs.
We were in disarray, man. That was Romeo Cornell's first game as an interim head coach.
Oh, you fucking dicks. God
oh,
damn.
Man.
Dude.
Well, you brought it up. I wasn't going to bring it up. I was going to save that as my safety net.
We're airing it all out.
Oh, we're bringing it up.
So, fucking, I mean, in retrospect, 2011 was kind of like Green Bay's, like, drunk honeymoon after the Super Bowl, where they didn't even know what was going on, and, like...
It was really, really good, and then it went really bad.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're back at work, hungover, like, just eyes like two piss holes in the snow. What the fuck just happened? And in retrospect, you guys kind of shook us out of that. I mean, if we would have gone 16-0 and lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants in the first round, I mean, after being the number one seed, it could have been bad. And I'm not saying thanks. I'm not thanking the Kansas City Chiefs for any of that. I'm just acknowledging a couple of recent memorable Packer losses to the Chiefs, and
interesting how the cookie crumbled with all of that.
But alas, I have too many friends down there, and they don't play often enough. And you gotta respect the Chiefs franchise. They're an old team. They have a stadium that's not called like Commerce Bank Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot to like about your team. You beat the Vikings in a Super Bowl, which is,
There's Modi. I'm enamored. I'm enamored with a head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. I really think people need to get more of them. Is there a kind of under the ground story or something maybe a lot of people don't hear about, with a little bit Hank Stram that maybe a lot of people don't hear, because I just think of the world of the guy.
Hank Stram?
He was the original head, or not the original, I don't know what he was, but he's a head coach for the Chiefs in Super Bowl.
Yeah.
When we beat them, and then when they beat the Vikings in Super Bowl IV, he was just a loudmouth. He was just a goofy, awkward, loudmouth, a mile a minute, just motor mouth talking guy and everything. Is there any? I mean, can you guys like build a statue of him or something, or is there anything that like is going on with Hank Stram? Because I think he needs more love around the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. And here lately, they actually did a little tribute thing to him at the Thursday night game last week. We attended that devastating loss, but I don't know a whole lot. I don't have any like big background story, but I think he goes overlooked definitely. Yeah, he was just a character, man. He almost seemed more like a, kind of a jabberjaw businessman, like out there on the field, just the way he kind of handled himself. And I don't know, it's cool to have a guy like tied to the Chiefs like that in our glory days and everything. And
absolutely. Well, I encourage everybody, because just today, knowing I was going to talk to you, we were going to talk Chiefs, I pushed him on YouTube, and I encourage everybody to just punch like Hank Stram, NFL, Steve Sable, the NFL Films guy in, and there's this little 7.5-minute piece that it sums up Hank pretty good, and Steve Sable just very eloquently puts in perspective some of the things that Hank did, because I do think the guy goes kind of underappreciated as far as what he did for the NFL, and he said some things about Super Bowl IV that are pretty profound. And I just think, I mean, we coordinate with you, we get an effort, we write the local papers, and we kind of we get Hank Strand some of the recognition that he deserves. Rest in peace. But he's I have an appreciation for Kansas City football that, you know, I growing up maybe didn't realize, but they're a team and a city, and you talk about the decibel level at Arrowhead Stadium and everything. Like it's kind of a very I think it's a respectful NFL franchise.
Likewise, man. Like I think there's a lot of parallels between the Chiefs and the Packers in that way. You know, the stadium names and the history, and they both played in Super Bowl I, you know, and just Chiefs fans and Packer fans, you know, like I think are similar in a lot of ways too. Like it's more of a respect thing rather than getting on here and talking trash on each other, as much as we might like to at times. But, you know, I think that both of these franchises, both of these fan bases, like, just the same in a lot of ways. And, yeah, mutual respect, though.
Word. Dude, I mean, even at that game in 2011, I didn't get, like, a super hard time, but yeah, I mean, so I've been to Arrowhead a handful of times, and it's an awesome stadium. But yeah, man, I didn't know you were at this last game. Holy shit, that's that's the home opener, huh? Man,
home opener Thursday night, national TV. We had our chance to beat the Broncos. Not only the Broncos, but we haven't beat the Broncos with Peyton Manning at all. We're 0-for against Peyton Manning, the Denver Broncos.
I mean, I don't mean to, like, I'm just trying to get some perspective here of like how, like, that game must have been, because you've won the AFC West one time in the last decade, where the Broncos have won it the last 4 in a row.
Man,
I mean, that's where the division is just. That's where the crown has been resting for a while, and for the opportunity you guys had to have them down but not put them out, man, that's like, holy shit. I mean, we have been there. I mean, obviously, if you watched the NFC Championship, you saw the Packers like squander an incredible opportunity. And granted, it's just week 2, but man, was that a tough game to go to, or what was that atmosphere like?
Yeah, man, the atmosphere was great. The atmosphere was Arrowhead, man. They actually changed up some of the stadium music and touchdown songs, and so that was actually very noticeable and a little different. You know, the whole crowd does chants after each touchdown, but they took away that song where you do the chant, and like, I don't know, it's kind of different. And so it kind of had a different vibe to it, I thought. Like, the music kind of affected my mood. I was, like, you know, upset after a touchdown. Like, hey, wait a second, we're not all chanting. And so, I don't know, that was kind of weird. But then being up, you know, we got on this huge high and, like, oh, this could be it. We finally take that next step and prove ourselves, you know, as the front runners in the division. And it all crumbled away, man. It all crumbled away. But, that was devastating. Yeah, only week 2, but that was as devastating of a week 2 loss as you could have. But maybe kind of the opposite for you guys. I mean, weren't you guys probably had this game marked on your calendars last year?
Well, I mean, I think the last time that we played Seattle in week 2 was like the Hail Mary game, so that was a pretty devastating week 2 loss too, if I say so.
Yeah, man.
Do you guys? I mean, give me some perspective. Do you guys just hate Peyton Manning? Like, was it just bullshit that he showed up in your division?
Oh yeah, it's been horrible. We didn't like him when he was with the Colts. You know, there was the no punt game in the playoffs when the Chiefs played the Colts, and the Colts ended up winning that. And it feels like that we've never beaten them. The Colts have always kind of historically gave us fits. in the playoffs in particular, and then the Colts get Peyton Manning, and then Peyton Manning comes to the division, and it's just we're waiting for him to be done, pretty much.
Just wait it out. Well, I mean, we can put that game behind and start to look ahead a little bit. I mean, the bright side of you guys having that game fall on a Thursday and then having a Monday night game is that's a really long stretch to heal up if you need to, but most importantly, prepare for what will assuredly be a very difficult road game here in Green Bay. What are the things people are talking about? I mean, I can only imagine Jamaal Charles is just going insane, like waiting to like run the football and hold on to it. Yeah, a bit of retribution.
Yeah, I think so. Kind of the buzz around town so far going into the game, like one thing that has came up on heard him talking about it on Sports Talk Radio this morning. I know it's not a bye week, but Andy Reid coming off of a bye in his whole career has, I don't know, only lost like 2 games coming off of a bye.
And this is correct, for all intents and purposes.
And so him getting the extra time, I think that's big, getting extra time to plan and prepare. And then, I don't know, man, I think that the Chiefs are going to be chomping at the bit to get back out on the football field. And, hopefully we can take this negative and turn it into a positive type of thing, and use that anger, so to speak.
And like I just think about the process of getting ready for the game, knowing that it's going to be a raucous atmosphere, for them to have 10 days or however long to practice silent snap counts and audibles and everything that goes with not being able to hear, which team is going in Arrowhead knows the same problem. Like, that really only plays into the favor of those Chiefs. It's a rare schedule set up, a Thursday to a Monday game, and it can only. I'm not a big guy of believing Russ, especially this early in the season. I mean, guys are ready to play. I think it's just they get a little more chance to watch some film and dissect some things and think some things as opposed to a 6-day turnaround. It creates an interesting circumstance.
Yeah, I think so.
What's the chat around town then? I mean, what are the pundits saying? What are people thinking about the team coming into Green Bay? All things considered.
It's exciting. I mean, getting to go to Lambeau on Monday night. I've heard more excitement about us going to Lambeau. I think we all know that it kind of makes us nervous. I feel like Chiefs fans are pretty realistic fans. Obviously, we're coming in as the underdog in this game. The Packers, I'm pretty sure the power rankings have been number 1, and so we have an idea of what we're getting ourselves into. But at the same time, man, last week was so devastating that I don't think it could get any worse than that.
Well, and that brings up a point. I mean, these are back-to-back primetime games. I mean, like, this isn't just some noon game that's going to be shown regionally. I mean, these guys folded on a pretty big stage. You never know how much that plays into it. I think your circle of awareness, so to speak, is pretty close when you're actually on the field and you're actually just trying to tackle someone. I don't think you're thinking about cameras necessarily, but at least going into this, I would think that there's probably they realize there's a lot at stake if they are trying to make that step, get out of Denver's shadow. This would go a long way.
Yeah, this would be huge if we could somehow pull this game out, man. Like, that would. The Chiefs fans are ready to go. The city, the team, we're all ready. A lot of people are talking about us being a playoff team still and everything like that, and we're just ready to jump on board, man. We just need that one little spark, and I think we'll take off.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you. All right, I'll show my hand if you show yours. Here's what Packers fans are nervous about for this game. I would say Jamaal Charles, Kelsey, and really good. Justin Houston, Ali, and Tama. Yeah, Justin Houston and Ali. I mean, the pass rush, I should say.
Yep. And those are our strengths right there.
Sure, man. And I mean, and those guys can legitimately play. On your side, what are people talking about in preparation, or is it just Aaron Rodgers?
A lot of it's just Aaron Rodgers. They've been talking about some. I've heard a little bit of buzz. You guys have injuries on the offensive line and the D line?
Offensive line, our starting right tackle is out for at least a month. His backup played pretty well against Seattle's pass rush. And then on our D line, it's not so much injury. We have.
He was a pretty third. I mean, you could almost say third stringer or whatever for the D tackles. But we've also been dealing with 2 suspensions. We got Dayton back, but we'll still be without. This will be the last game. We'll be without Latroy Guion, who was
like our big run stuffer. He's the big talk is how he missed games against Matt Forte, Marshawn Lynch, and now Jamal Charles.
Yeah, man. That's I have heard some buzz about that. People have been thinking that we might be able to run on the Packers, kind of try to control the game clock, stay, obviously keep. It all boils down to Aaron Rodgers. Keep him off of the field, and
if it all boils down to Aaron Rodgers, the dude is not human at Lambeau Field. He's a great quarterback anywhere, but at Lambeau, the numbers, like, he hasn't thrown an interception at Lambeau Field in his last, 550 passes or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 2 years or longer, 30-plus touchdowns, 0 interceptions, something like that, I think I read.
It's just insane, man. I mean, that's just robotic.
I think we break his streak. That's my one bold prediction. The interception streak.
And I think the best strategy anybody can have, because we actually saw it week 1 in the first half against the Bears, the best strategy you can have, and it sounds generic, but the best strategy you can have is keeping Aaron Rodgers off the field and having a run game that can have patience and run out the clock and go 3 downs, get a first down, and carry on and continue, and then maybe cause a takeaway or at least, stifle him with the defense. That's really the method, because if you give him opportunities, I mean, it's not a daring thing. It's just, it's proven, but he's been stopped before, and a lot of it is taking him off the field, and a solid run game that's a hell of a good way to do it.
Yep, and so that's our execution, and then what Aaron Rodgers can do when he is on the field.
That's interesting, man. I mean, we've gone up. Going up against Seattle was a really good test for this team, and even with the injuries, they were still able to do some stuff. When we talk about the other side of the ball, I would say what gives me confidence as a Packers fan going into this game is the threats on your offense would be tight end and running back, and both of our games so far, those have been the threats. We really haven't gone up against teams who have receivers. Alshon Jeffrey was dinged up for the Bears, and they didn't really have.
Yeah, that's right.
Seattle, Doug Baldwin, but what the fuck? And you guys, Macklin, really hasn't done much this year. He's good. I liked him at Philly, but it's still the focal points for a defense trying to stop your offense would be the running back and the tight end. And the fact that we've gone up, that's really been our matchup issue for the first 2 games.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of practice on that specific type of attack from an offense.
Man. It's a good point. It's almost like you guys are playing the...
What do you think? Oh man, but for real, what's is this a must-win game for Kansas City, or would this have been a game where you looked at the schedule beforehand and you thought we could chalk that one up to a loss?
Yeah. Just looking at the schedule beforehand, man, like the Chiefs kind of have it rough at the beginning of the year here. Man, I almost want to say we possibly play the Patriots, or we play another good quarterback. I think coming off of this week after this one, and we could, and there was a lot of talk we could easily see us starting out the season at 1-4, and if we could go 2-4 in these first 4 games, that maybe we'd be okay and things could kind of come together.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for that tough start, and man, to be so close last week, that's tough, man. I mean, like, I really feel like your guys are going to come out so fired up. There are some people around here that thought maybe this game presents even more of a challenge than Seattle did. So
Monday nights can be weird.
Yeah, weird shit can happen on a Monday night too.
Yep. Well, weird stuff has happened between the Chiefs and the Packers, in recent years.
Yeah.
But as a Chiefs fan looking at this game, man, like I'm putting my money on all the intangibles, just kind of like what we've been talking about. You guys, I see the Packers coming off of this high after getting your revenge back on the Seahawks early in the year here. Chiefs are coming off of an all-time low almost, at least within these past few years. This was, I think, by far the worst loss. Yeah, within the past couple of years, man, and
yeah,
there's a lot of high hopes for the team. I think the Chiefs are going to be juiced. It's Monday night. It can be weird. I think we've got a couple. Put a score on it?
Yeah.
If we win the turnover battle, if we don't get behind early, and, I mean, Jamal Charles has had some rushing yards, but he just hasn't really broke that long one.
Get on with it, dude. Come on.
Chiefs, lots of field goals. Chiefs 27, Packers 23.
Whoa. Fuck that game. Fuck that possible game. God.
We're going to pick up Aaron Rodgers. Marcus Peters will have a pick 6. Our defense will score. And those 4 things are going to happen for us, and that's what will win us the game.
Fuck. Damn, dude.
I still got to play the homer card.
The A-Rod I mean, man. Oh, man.
But I understand the what does intrigue me is a Monday night and a team coming off a very big high and a team coming off a very big low. To some it may sound odd, but almost a team off a very big low. I mean, there's a fire in the belly and a competitive edge, and knowing ahead that it creates interesting circumstances. I have all the faith in the world about our kind of mental mindset and coming in focused, but it's played into many storylines previously in the NFL, and it's just something that has to be considered. It's a very, very, very interesting matchup. So
put a score on it, Tommy.
Put a score on it. I'm still probably going to say something like 30-13.
Boom.
Boom.
Dang. Is it my turn yet?
Yep. That's all you, Maddie.
All right. You want to call a friend and see if you can get someone to even this out? Because I am definitely picking a Packers victory. Dude, our coach is a man possessed. He doesn't give a fuck about anything anymore. He grew a beard for the first time ever. And then he fucking shaved it off like he never had it. He doesn't care. And he is going to have no sympathy for the Chiefs and what they've gone through because his team went through worse last year. He is going to scheme, and he's got a couple of new toys that emerged last week. look out for rookie Ty Montgomery, receiver, and second-year tight end Richard Rodgers. And then getting James Jones back, I mean, like, there are weapons. Even if Eddie Lacy does not play, Eddie Lacy, our starting running back, got carted off last week with an ankle injury.
Yeah, man.
They're talking about, like, how getting an extra day and getting the game on a Monday makes it possible that he could play. If he doesn't, we're fine. You'd wish that he'd be there, but I on our end, we hope they take their time with him because I think they're fine without him. But there are weapons on offense. Our D-line or our O-line, I think, is going to play with more confidence, and just being at home helps too. But man, I think it's going to be a brawl. I think it's going to be another really tight game, and I'm going to go 23-20 Green Bay Packers.
Well, if the Chiefs lose, I hope it's not a close game. And if the Chiefs are going to lose, I would rather it be 30-13.
God, dude, you are, man. You would rather have no hope?
Yeah, like a Band-Aid, man. Get up 21-0 in the first quarter and just put us away if you're going to do it.
Damn. Well, A-Rod is a bad man, and he might just cat and mouse this shit. Right.
We've got a kind of shaky secondary, man. We have a couple highlights on secondary, but boy, we are young.
What's it, Sean something? Dude who's out on suspension.
Yeah, our top corner. Yeah, Sean Smith is suspended for this game and one more game, I believe.
Man, how's Eric Berry doing after the cancer scare?
Yeah, man, he hasn't started a game yet, but he's been getting playing time, man, and Derek Johnson coming off of injury and being out all last year. I think those guys are going to start to settle in, and I think you'll see some bigger flashes from our defense here. We got a rookie corner, Marcus Peters. He's a name to keep an eye out for. And, he's had 2 interceptions in his first 2 NFL games, had a pick 6 last week, and so I think he's gonna make the turning key play of the game, pick off Aaron Rodgers, and we'll make some big plays on defense to.
Damn you for predicting that, man. I really don't want that to happen. But, you guys do have a very talented defense and a good offense, man. I mean, you guys are you got a good Chiefs team taking the field this year. It's too bad that they're going to drop the 1 and 2 after this week.
Well, it's definitely going to be a fun game to watch. We're all geared up for it. Ready. It's Monday night. Monday night at Lambeau. It's sweet within itself to get it between the Chiefs and the Packers.
Yeah. Man, it's going to be outrageous. Where are you going to be watching?
On Monday?
Yeah.
Oh, where? I don't know yet. There's a couple of different places and parties, and they're doing all sorts of stuff. I've heard a lot of buzz. We got radio stations going up there to tailgate in Lambeau, and one of them doing a remote show from Brett Favre's Steakhouse one of these nights, maybe Friday night or something like that. And so it'll be interesting to see how much red is up there too. You'll have to get back with me on that one.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. This is a Milwaukee ticket holder game, which probably doesn't mean much, but basically there are 2 sets of season ticket holders for the Packers. Green Bay fans have 6 of the games, and then the Milwaukee fans get 2 of them. This is a Milwaukee ticket holder game, and a lot of times, especially with it being on a Monday night, the Milwaukee ticket holders have a tendency to sell their tickets off, and there could be, that can kind of pave the way for a more prominent visitor crowd. So there may be a fair amount of Chiefs fans up.
That'll be interesting. Hopefully we can dash some red in there. I was reading, it sounds like it got pretty loud and raucous at Lambeau on Monday or Sunday night.
Man, me and a couple people felt that was maybe the loudest game we'd ever been at. It was
Really?
impressive. Yeah, it was awesome, man. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure if we're going to this game or not, but we will most definitely be watching. I'm sure you and I'll chat soon enough about the reaction, if not during. But for the preview, man, thanks so much for doing this. You had never done anything like this before?
Oh, no way, no way. When you guys first asked me to do it, I was nervous as hell, man. Are they gonna just like start bashing the Chiefs and put me in the corner? And so I had to do a little bit of research and come up with my safety net, and I had to get ready for everything. Do a little touch up on some stats and some of our new guys, some questions I had about Green Bay, and
we have some friends that are just now out in Southern Illinois. They're on your way, Modi. So take care of yourself. No, dude, seriously, was super appreciative. It's just, I love boots on the ground in whatever city we're playing on and catching a little insight, because what you hear from national and from everything else doesn't always tell the full story of kind of what the vibe is around the city you're playing. So it's just super thanks for kind of giving us at least a glimpse into kind of some of the feelings over the past couple of years and presently in KC.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. It was a blast.
Thanks so much, man. This was great. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, good luck, Packer fans.
Right back. Good luck, Chiefs fans. Bye.
Later, guys.
Well, thanks a lot, Modi. Thank you for joining us. And
Super cool, dude. Thanks for the talk, man.
thanks for joining us, you, the listener, the viewer, however you're taking in this show tonight. We have been broadcasting on this lovely September evening from the Fun Doctor's house here next to Lambeau Field. This year, the sponsor is the new community shelter.
They do great work.
They do great work.
Year-round, meal, shelter, everything that goes on. I know a person who's worked there and a person who has worked there, and they do great work. It's just important stuff. Give a shoulder to lean on. It's all about giving that shoulder to lean on. If you got something to give, it doesn't have to mean money. It can mean a shoulder to lean on and helping out, and that's and if you have money, I mean, supporting Fun Doctor, supporting New Community Shelter is pretty awesome.
And I gotta say, Drew Nowak, once your time done with Seattle is done, inevitably, maybe you can find a home at that shelter.
Yeah.
Because we're done. You embrace Seattle. You have nowhere to go once you leave there, Drew. You're dead to me. But once again, we are brought to you by OutsideSlant.com, and can't thank those guys enough. Be sure to check out the podcast and the articles going up there. But we have a big old game Monday night, don't we, Tommy?
Yes, we do. We have been
live
from
Stadium
Drive.
Yeah! Woo! I didn't know you could stop him. I would have turned this thing off so many fucking times.